Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Asvadraja Shantarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Asvadraja Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shantai Gaura Pranade, Hari Om. So, once again, thank you all so much for the service of being able to discuss the wonderful pastime of Lord Ramachandra today. So, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I pray for all your blessings to do justice to this wonderful topic. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita this day, chapter 1, text 20. Ata vyavastitan drishtva dhartarashran kapi dvajaha pravrite shastra sampate dhanur udyamya pandavaha Rishikeshan tada vakyam idam aha mahipate. Translation. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. Purport. Translation purport by Divine Vishnu Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada teacher. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Ram in the battle between Ram and Ravan, and Lord Ram emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Rama himself, and wherever Lord Ram is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give direction. Thus all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for its eternal good, lay the signs of assured victory. Om Jnanatimirandasya Dhyanyanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshita. So this is the most auspicious Ramayan week, which is building up to the appearance day of Lord Ramachandra on Sunday. And traditionally, this week is dedicated to discussing the pastimes of Lord Ram. Now we know that we should be discussing the Lord's pastimes every day of the week and at all times of the day. And there's so much transcendental subject matter, we would never actually run out to discuss. So many people, though, may question that they know about the pastimes of Lord Ram and they know about his wonderful qualities and such. So talking about it over and over again, they may not feel that they're actually getting any benefit. But whenever we hear such comments, or if it even passes through our minds, we must ask ourselves if we're acting exactly or even close to the wonderful example that Lord Ram set. Because to set such wonderful examples is one of the reasons why the Lord appears. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Yadyad acharati shreshtas tattarivatarojana sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvardate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So among exemplary acts and great actions, Lord Ram is certainly one of the greatest. And knowing about his pastimes means that we have to act according to it. That was the reason why he came particularly as a human being in order to establish religion and dharmic codes and the moral way of life for people. So if we're not doing so as the Lord, or we're not even trying, then we should ask ourselves why. And usually the answer that we might get is that the Lord's pastimes and activities haven't really reached our hearts. It hasn't touched our souls in the way that we would actually now change the way we behave and how we act
This
and
muffins and Gaura, you
um,
want to eat?
how we sorry, just okay. So we need to change the way we behave and how we act according to um, the example that the Lord has set for us. And if we're not hearing about Him enough, then we're not going to get the benefit of changing in the way that we should to please the Lord. It's the act of constant hearing that is able to chip away the hard covering of our hearts that makes it so difficult for us to act in an exemplary way. That constant chipping away at this hard covering is accomplished by hearing about the Lord's pastimes um, as many times in the day and in our lives as we can. Even if we groan about hearing it many times. But one day we'll be listening to a speaker, and their words will be that last tap that's needed to crack that hard cover. And suddenly, when that covering of our hard hearts is destroyed, we'll actually have that aha moment where the Lord's pastimes really do touch our hearts, really do change us for the better, so that we can serve Him better. And then all the knowledge that we've been getting will go from merely being jnana and theoretical in application to being vigyana or realized, what we actually understand in the act of it. This is our hope with our constant hearing. So today we're going to be discussing the wonderful aspects of Lord Ram's personality. Only a drop, of course, in the ocean of his wonderful qualities. And we're going to be reading from verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, chapter 10, because the most powerful weapons that we have to chip away at this hard parts of ours are the words of our great spiritual masters and acharyas. So these words of Srila Vyasadeva spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami are certainly appropriate. So we're going to start with Lord Ram as the perfect son, and we'll be reading text 45 and 46, the English, so that we won't drag on too much. Thereafter, having been welcomed by his brother Bharat, Lord Ramachandra entered the city of Ayodhya in the midst of the festival. When he entered the palace, he offered obeisances to all the mothers, including Kaikeyi and the other wives of Maharaj Dasharath, and especially his own mother, Kaushalya. He also offered obeisances to the spiritual preceptors, such as Vashishta. Friends of his own age and younger friends worshipped him, and he returned their respectful obeisances, as did Lakshman and Mother Sita. In this way, they all entered the palace. So we'll just have an abbreviated history of the Lord's appearance as Ramachandra. So Lord Ram was the eldest of 4 sons that were born to King Dasharath. Dasharath had 3 wives. Lord Ram was the son of Dasharath's first wife, Kaushalya. Bharat was the second son, and he was born to King Dasharath's favorite wife, Kaikeyi. And the twins, Lakshman and Shatrugna, were born to King Dasharath's third wife, Sumitra. So Lord Ram, as the eldest son, was due to inherit the kingdom, but the day before his coronation, Kaikeyi's mind was poisoned by her maidservant, and so she asked Dasharath to make good on his previous promise to her that he would offer her 2 wishes whenever she wanted. This was in exchange for her saving his life. And she asked in those 2 wishes that Lord Ram would be banished to the forest for 14 years and Bharat would become king in his this place. So Lord Ram in this situation was technically not the one bound by these promises. So he didn't actually have to fulfill them. He could have easily told his father that these promises were made by you and by me. But his loyalty to his father was so great that he considered that upholding his father's words was his dharma as much as it was his father's dharma to uphold his own words. And this is an extraordinary kind of behavior of the son that we wouldn't ordinarily find in any age, much less Kali Yuga. But what is even more remarkable is how Lord Ram behaved, as we read in this verse, when he returned. I mean, he had undergone a lot of suffering those 14 years, but instead of being completely bitter against KK for what she had done, he lovingly greeted her as much as he had greeted the other mothers who had been only loving and affectionate towards him. So this is the Lord's extraordinary moral character, that he considered that whatever apparent reverses he had undergone were as a result of um, like an ordinary mortal past deeds. And so they had been sanctioned by the Supreme Lord, and thus he held no grudge against any person who was enacting the Supreme Lord's will. And this is a very important trait that we need to imbibe from him, that we should never hold grudges against anyone for any reverses of fate, because it's all in the Lord's hands. It's simply up to us to learn the lessons that we need to learn from these in order to obtain the mercy of the Lord. The next perfect role that the Lord played was as a brother. Now we're reading texts 39 and 40. After offering the wooden shoes before Lord Ramachandra, Lord Bharat stood with folded hands, his eyes full of tears, and Lord Ramachandra bathed Bharat with tears while embracing him with both arms for a long time. Accompanied by Mother Sita and Lakshman, Lord Ramachandra then offered his respectful obeisances unto the learned Brahmins and the elderly persons in the family, and all the citizens of Ayodhya offered their respectful obeisances unto the Lord. So here we can see that Lord Ramachandra didn't hold a grudge against Bharat either, even though he had an indirect role in the Lord's banishment. Indeed, Lord Ramachandra considered Bharat equal to Lakshman, and Lakshman had devotedly followed Ram into the forest and served him lovingly for 14 years. So this is another extraordinary quality of the Lord that we've discussed previously. Because he's above the three modes of material nature, he doesn't consider someone his friend and someone his enemy. He's completely impartial, and so he acts in a completely justified way to all. So if we are trying to be his servants, we also need to be equal to all people. This is an important quality for a devotee. It may be challenging because we know that there are different personality types, but there are a few steps that we can take that can make it very easy for us to be able to get along with all persons. The first, of course, is that we treat and should treat everybody respectfully, whoever they are and however they behave towards us. We should always try to appreciate their good qualities, any services they're rendering to the Lord, directly or indirectly. Because, as we said before, whether someone is an active devotee of the Lord or not, everyone is actually the Lord's servant and is serving Him in some way. And we should try to minimize and tolerate the negative behaviors or offenses that people make towards us. But generally, we tend to do the opposite. We underappreciate their good qualities and overdo our reactions to people's negative behaviors. So we should try to overcome the tendencies that we have to do that because it will greatly please the Lord. And this is how we can achieve this much sought after brotherhood of mankind, by starting in small ways. The Lord was also the perfect husband. Text 54 says, Lord Ramachandra took a vow to accept only one wife and have no connection with any other woman. He was a saintly king, and everything in his character was good, untinged by qualities like anger. He taught good behavior for everyone, especially for households, in terms of Varnashram Dharma. Thus, he taught the general public by his personal activities. So, Lord Ram married Sita before he went off to exile. And even though she was a princess born in wonderful opulence and comforts, she insisted on going with him to the forest. We know that because of their divine personalities, their wonderful behavior, the forest was actually equal to the palace for them. They were in bliss wherever they were. And this is an important quality for us to note as well, because even if we're in the middle of great material difficulties, if we're in good spiritual association, we can find that the spiritual world is actually with us, even if it appears that we could be suffering. Association is very essential in spiritual life. Now, even through Sita's kidnapping, which was obviously divinely orchestrated because Ravan was a great threat who needed to be um, destroyed, Lord Ram had still taken care of Sita in a very interesting way. She was never actually ever touched by Ravan. She was never kept in captivity or tortured by him. And Lord Chaitanya has confirmed the story in Chaitanya Charitamrita. What happened was that when Ravan tried to kidnap Sita, and she crossed over the line of protection that Lakshman had drawn around the hermitage that they were staying, Sita was exchanged for Maya Sita. The real Sita was taken care of by Agni, god of fire. So Maya Sita was the Vedavati in her past life. Vedavati was the daughter of the Vedas personified, and she desired to have Vishnu as her husband. So she went to do austerities, and Ravan had been passing by and saw her and tried to kidnap her also. Although she managed to escape, she was so horrified at being touched by him that she decided to quit her body immediately. But she cursed him that she would be reborn in order to destroy him. So she was able to fulfill that curse by appearing as Maya Sita because Ravan kidnapped her, and on the basis of her being kidnapped in the form of Sita, Ram was able to wage war on Ravan and eventually kill him. So when Sita Devi had to go through the trial of fire, this was when the exchange of Maya Sita and the real Sita was made. Many ignorant people have criticized Lord Ram for putting Sita through that trial of fire, but it was actually for her own glorification. It was to prove that she could never ever be contaminated in any way. And of course, being completely transcendental, she would never be harmed by material elements like fire. It was also to facilitate the exchange of Maya Sita and the real Sita. Another ignorant claim that people make is that Lord Ram had eventually abandoned Sita when she was pregnant. But they don't understand that there's an absolutely uh, plausible story behind this. When Sita was younger, she had unfortunately separated a pair of birds, and the female bird was pregnant. The bird was so upset that it cursed Sita that she would undergo a similar thing. So Ram and Sita had undergone a lot of trials simply to show us that no matter how much adversity we may go through because of fate or destiny, we should still keep to the moral dharmic path. We should still keep to our devotional services. And this is the great example that we need to learn from them. Rather than questioning their actions as if we know better than them, we should just learn from the examples that they set for us. This is their great mercy in appearing and undergoing so many things when they actually didn't have to. For example, Ram didn't have to go according to the boons that his father had given to stepmother, and Sita didn't have to adhere to any curses. But they were teaching us forbearance, which is very important in spiritual life. Then Lord Ram was the perfect master. We'll read now from text 32. After giving Vibhishan the power to rule the Rakshasa population of Lanka for the duration of one kalpa, Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, placed Sita Devi on an airplane decorated with flowers and then got on the plane himself. The period for his living in the forest having ended, the Lord returned to Ayodhya accompanied by Hanuman, Sugriva, and his brother Lakshman. So Lord Ram had rightfully destroyed Ravan, and he now had the ability to claim the kingdom of Lanka, which was uncommonly beautiful and opulent. But instead of taking the kingdom, he gave it to Vibhishan to rule. This is him as a perfect master. He also was a perfect master to the Vanaras, or the monkeys who had assisted him. He always treated them with love and respect and appreciated all their efforts. Even when Sugriva who Ram had made a deal that he would help Sugriva to defeat uh, Bali, Sugriva's brother, in exchange for Sugriva helping Lord Ram to find Sita. Sugriva, having gotten his end of the deal fulfilled when Ram killed Bali, enjoyed his kingdom so much that he forgot his promise to Ram. And Lord Ram never got angry. It was actually Lakshman that went to chastise Sugriva and remind him that he had actually not fulfilled his end of the promise. Then, after the war was finished with Ravan, Lord Ram ensured that all the monkeys who had fought in that battle were actually healed fully, and if they had left their bodies, they were brought back to life. He allowed them to enjoy the gardens and the opulences of Lakshman, of Lanka, and of Ayodhya when they were all actually allowed to attend the Lord's coronation. And particularly sweet is that they appeared as the monkeys in his next appearance as Krishna, and he personally fed them butter cookies. Then, of course, Lord Ramachandra is the perfect king. Text 50. Being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharat, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of Varna and Ashram, accepted him as their father. Text 51. Lord Ramachandra became king during Treta Yuga, but because of his good government, the age was like Satya Yuga. Everyone was religious and completely happy. So these are very famous verses about Lord Ram's legendary leadership. He was, of course, the ideal king, leading everyone by example, which is something that is impossible to find in Kali Yuga. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. However, there is something that we can do about this. We know that not all is lost in Kali Yuga because there is a 10,000 year period of a golden age, and this golden age has actually already started. So we have been given that power in order to allow this golden age to triumph in this Kali Yuga. And that power is in adopting the wonderful example of Lord Ramachandra in our own lives and then preaching that to others. By improving the mindsets of those around us, whoever we encounter actually, we're going to be encouraging good leadership to develop amongst people, good spiritual leadership based on Lord Ram's example. And we'll be encouraging those people who vote the leadership in to also think of the spiritual character of the people they vote in before they do so. This is very, very essential to good governance in this age. And it's possible that just by our actions of changing ourselves, we can actually change the greater world. So whenever we bemoan the state of the world, we must realize that we have the power within ourselves. Not just in changing ourselves, but by changing ourselves, helping others to change for the better as well. Everyone's small acts can culminate in the great act of changing the course of this Kali Yuga, which is something that scripture has written. Then Lord Ramachandra is the perfect protector. Text 5 says, in the arena of the sacrifice performed by Vishwamitra, Lord Ramachandra, the king of Ayodhya, killed many demons, rakshasas, and uncivilized men who wandered at night in the mode of darkness. May Lord Ramachandra, who killed these demons in the presence of Lakshman, be kind enough to give us protection. So Lord Ram appeared not just to protect people from the demons, but also from irreligion. The Lord's main missions are outlined in the Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya Sadhunam, Vinashaya Cha Dushkritam, Dharma Samsthapanardaya Sambhavam Yuge Yuge. He delivers the pious, he annihilates the miscreants, and he also establishes the principles of religion. This is why he appears millennium after millennium. So when Lord Ram appeared, he was protecting the people, both in the age that he appeared and all the way up to now, from irreligion and again from the demons. So when he was a youngster, he went with Vishwamitra to the forest and killed many demons with disturbing sages from their sacrifices. And his special reason for going into exile in the forest, because the Lord always has a reason for everything that he does, is that there were many demons in the forest that he needed to rid the world of also. So there were thousands that he killed um, while he was in exile. Then, of course, the demoniac army of Ravan and Ravan himself. So in this age, we understand that the Lord is still present, only he can't physically kill all demoniac persons, because that would include all of us, actually. So what he is so merciful is in doing is that he's present in his holy name. And by those holy names, he will be able to destroy everybody's demoniac mentalities, give them a chance to serve. Lord Ramachandra was the perfect renunciant also. Text 8. Carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Lord Ramachandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well wishers, residents, and everything else, just as a liberated soul gives up his life and went to the forest with Sita. So in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada says that the definition of Bhagavan has been given to us by Parashara Muni. We know that term Bhagavan is given to Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, and all their various incarnations and avatars. And it has a very special meaning. The word Bhagavan implies that person being called by this title possesses six opulences in full, because we know that people have varying degrees of opulences. But Bhagavan has full fame, full strength, full beauty, full wealth, full knowledge, and full renunciation. So why is renunciation particular mentioned here? We know that if somebody is very wealthy but very stingy, it's not a very attractive quality. If somebody is very strong or very beautiful but very proud about it and makes other people feel small or silly because they don't have those attributes, then that's also something that's very um, unattractive about them. And so we can extend that to the other qualities as well. Somebody's famous but arrogant, or has knowledge but arrogance. It doesn't make them very attractive to other people. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's not drawn by his own opulences, his own wealth, his own fame or strength. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely and utterly concerned only about the love that his devotees have for him, that he has for his devotees. And that's what makes it so endearing, that we know that no matter how much he possesses, he cares about his devotees above everything else. That is something that is never found in this material world. So even though Lord Ramachandra was surrounded by every opulence possible, he gave it all up willingly. This is very different to the renunciation that maybe Mayavadis or yogis or ascetics make, because mostly people give up material life because of frustrations. They don't really have a good material life anyway, so walking away from it sometimes isn't such a big sacrifice. But Lord Ramchandra had everything, literally everything, and he walked away from it willingly. And this is quite an extraordinary display of the opulence of renunciation. Then, of course, he displayed the perfect etiquette. In text 13, it says, after reaching the beach, Lord Ramachandra fasted for 3 days, awaiting the arrival of the ocean personified. When the ocean did not come, the Lord exhibited his pastimes of anger, and simply by his glancing over the ocean, all the living entities within it, including the crocodiles and sharks, were agitated by fear. Then the personified ocean fearfully approached Lord Ramachandra, taking all paraphernalia to worship him. Falling at the Lord's lotus feet, the personified ocean spoke as follows. Now we know that Lord Ramachandra is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everything is within his control, including the ocean. He could have simply walked over it if he wanted to, but he displayed this wonderful quality of patience, even though he had an urgent mission to accomplish. So this importance of having patience along with our spiritual duties that we want to or have the enthusiasm to fulfill is important. Srila Rupa Goswami speaks of it in his Upadeshamrita. He says that we must be enthusiastic, but we must be patient at the same time. Srila Swami had said recently that if one is too enthusiastic and not patient enough, then he has a danger of being too controlling. And if somebody is too patient but not enthusiastic enough, then he can actually get lethargic. So in spiritual life, we have to have a balance of both. Lord Ramachandra was the perfect ally. Text 12. Lord Ramachandra, whose lotus feet are worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, had assumed the form of a human being. Thus he performed the funeral ceremony of Jatayu, who was killed by Ravan. The Lord then killed the demon named Kabhanda, and after making friends with the monkey chiefs, killing Bali and arranging for the deliverance of Mother Sita, he went to the beach of the ocean. So when Ram encountered the Vanara, or the monkey army, they were also in exile. The king of the Vanaras, Sugriva, had been defeated by his brother Vali, who was much stronger, and Vali was now ruling Sugriva's kingdom. So there was a pact made between Lord Ram and Sugriva, even though the Lord didn't really need the assistance of the monkeys, but he was engaging his devotees in service. Sugriva promised to help Lord Ram find Matsita, and Lord Ram promised to help Sugriva defeat Bali. The problem was that Bali was much stronger than Sugriva. So when Sugriva challenged Bali, he wasn't able to defeat him on his own. Lord Ramachandra had to step in and shoot Bali, unfortunately from behind, which is something that a strict moralist like Lord Ram would not have been happy to do. However, we know that Bali was fit to be killed. He had taken Sugriva's kingdom, he had taken Sugriva's wife, and he had threatened his life. And this, according to Bhagavad Gita, are 3 out of 6 reasons that someone, an aggressor, is fit to be killed. So even though it was justified, Sugriva could not do it on his own. So Lord Ram is the perfect friend and ally. He went against the usual moral code and he killed Bali for the benefit of the Vanara people. And of course, this perfect friend and ally of Sugriva. Lord Ramachandra was perfectly humble. Text 34. Upon reaching Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra heard that in his absence, his brother Bharat was eating barley cooked in the urine of a cow, covering his body with the bark of trees, wearing matted locks of hair, and lying on a mattress of pusha. The most merciful Lord very much lamented this. Now, Lord Ramachandra himself had gone through so many difficulties when he left Ayodhya. We know that it was challenging, but we don't always realize how challenging it was. The Srimad Bhagavatam says that Lord Ramachandra's lotus feet were so soft that they could not bear the touch of Sita's palms. Yet he was walking with those exquisitely soft lotus feet across the forest for 14 years. The divine trio was living from place to place at the mercy of the elements. They were living on fruits and roots. They were encountering demons and they were living in very harsh circumstances. On top of that, of course, was Sita's kidnapping and all the hardships that Lord Ramachandra had to endure in order to get her back to that battle. And if you consider ourselves, we would never walk anywhere, much less barefoot, if we could help it. We need a steady electricity connection these days, network everywhere, a stable shelter, running water, and cooked meal. The austerities that the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself had to undergo, not just for one day or 1 month, but for 14 years, are beyond us actually to imagine. Yet, even after he went through all of that, he came back and he lamented what Bharat had been through. He didn't try to make anyone feel guilty about what he had suffered. He certainly didn't ascribe to what is very common modern mentality that misery loves company, that if I'm suffering, everybody should be suffering. He actually cared that everyone in Ayodhya was still living comfortably and nicely, even if he had to endure some difficulties. Because for him, of course, the endurance of the difficulties was mission. So he didn't consider them real suffering. And so in his humility, he was actually lamenting about Bharat's austerities rather than his own. And then we conclude with an interesting point that Lord Ramachandra was also the perfect enemy. Text 29. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Vibhishan, the pious brother of Ravan and devotee of Lord Ramachandra, received approval from Lord Ramachandra, king of Koshala. Then he performed prescribed funeral ceremonies for his family members to save them from the path to hell. So the background to this is that Vibhishan was so horrified by Ravan, his elder brother's activities, that he didn't want to perform the funeral ceremony for Ravan. It was actually Lord Ramachandra that encouraged him to do so. And this is pretty amazing if you consider that Ravan had treated Rama and Sita and everyone actually so badly that the Supreme Lord would want him to be saved from hell. We know that in modern times, we think about enemies that are particularly active against us. We would want them to burn in hell. It's a term that we've heard quite a bit. But Lord Ramachandra wanted him to be saved. That is his extraordinary compassion, as we've mentioned before. His equality to his friends and his enemies. So not only did he give Devi permission to perform the funeral rites to save Ravan, but he himself, Lord Ramachandra, he performed atonement for killing Ravan. This is because Ravan was actually born of a Brahmin father, Vishrava. So there's an important point to note here that even though Ravan was born of a Brahmin father, he didn't act like a Brahmin, and so he was not considered a Brahmin. One should never consider that their birth gives them the right to carry a title or the respect if they're not acting according to the role. So even though Ravan was technically a Brahmin, he acted as a demon, and so he has been considered throughout history as a demon, which is right. So we should always act according to the best behavior, like we've been emphasizing, according to the wonderful examples that the Supreme Lord himself sets, rather than acting according to our own wills of sense gratification. This leads us down paths that people like